Commercial leasing can be confusing. What are triple net, full service gross, and modified gross leases? Today we're talking about commercial lease structures and the differences between each one. Commercial real estate, like many other industries, is full of its own lingo. If you're looking to lease commercial space, you've likely run across phrases such as triple net or full service whenever a broker or landlord was explaining what type of lease they're using. But what does that actually mean? And maybe a better question, why are certain lease structures utilized instead of others? Let's dive into what triple net or NNN, full service gross, FSG, and modified gross, MG, mean and the differences between them. Triple net leases. In a triple net lease, the tenant pays the operating expenses for the building. These leases are traditionally found in retail and standalone properties. However, in recent years, the triple net lease structure is also finding its way into office and industrial too. Triple net stands for the three nets in a lease: common area maintenance, property taxes, and building insurance. In these leases, tenants are responsible for paying their proportionate share of these fees in addition to their base rent, utilities, and any maintenance within their premises. Rents for a triple net lease may be quoted as $30 per square foot triple net with $5 per square foot in pass-throughs. Why are triple net leases used? Why would a tenant sign a triple net lease and accept all of the responsibility for those expenses? Well, more often than not, the structure is actually beneficial to them and the landlord. Landlords prefer this structure if possible because any increases in the property taxes, building insurance, common area maintenance, and more will get passed on directly to the tenant that benefits from the exclusive use of that property. Tenants prefer triple net leases because they know that the additional rent that they pay towards maintaining the common areas will be utilized properly. Landlords don't, or at least shouldn't, make any money off of these pass-through fees. Tenants may also audit these expenses annually so the landlords won't be tempted to cut costs on the quality of the maintenance of the property. In retail, image is everything, and it ensures that the property is well groomed. Full service gross leases. In a full service gross lease, the landlord pays all of the operating expenses of the building. Full service gross leases are most commonly found in office buildings, but can also be found in lower quality retail and industrial centers. Since this lease type is the most simple of all three, it is often used by more unsophisticated landlords on all property types. Full service gross means pretty much as it sounds. The lease covers all of the expenses. That means that the tenant pays the landlord one fee, their rent, and the landlord pays any and all expenses on the property, such as the utilities, the common area maintenance, taxes, and insurance, which are the three nets, janitorial, and more. Landlords or their property management company will be responsible for anything and everything that needs to be maintained in the building, which can even include changing light bulbs for tenants. Rents for a full service lease may be quoted as $30 per square foot full service. So why are full service leases used? Well, full service leases are very straightforward and easy for everyone to understand. The tenant is responsible for paying their rent, and the landlord is responsible for all of the expenses and maintenance. So wouldn't tenants prefer this lease structure then? Well, depending on the sophistication of the tenant and the landlord, maybe. Since the landlord is responsible for coordinating maintenance, handling repairs, and restocking supplies, they could take these opportunities to cut costs in order to make more money. Unfortunately, landlords like that are the reason why some buildings fall into disrepair. However, these lease structures can be great for tenants since they are only responsible for paying their rent and can lean on the landlord for everything else. Modified gross leases. In a modified gross lease, the landlord and tenant both pay the operating expenses on the property. Modified gross leases are a hybrid of the triple net and the full service lease structures, and there is no guide as to which responsibilities fall on the landlord or the tenant in this scenario, as it can vary depending on the sophistication of the landlord, the type of business the tenant operates, the style of the property, and more. As a hybrid between triple net and full service, modified gross can pass on any number of the expenses or responsibilities to either party. The landlord may pay taxes while the tenant pays CAM, insurance, and utilities. The landlord may pay everything except for the tenant's utilities, or utilities may be included in the rent but CAM is not. There's really no limitation as to how these leases may be set up. Rent on a modified gross lease may be quoted as $30 per square foot plus tenant's pro rata share of CAM. So why are modified gross leases used? While modified gross leases offer far more flexibility for both parties during negotiations, it may also be easier for the landlord to set up the lease payments this way depending on how the property was constructed or set up prior to acquisition. Some landlords may prefer to cover the more controllable costs, such as insurance, while passing off the uncontrollable expenses, like utilities, onto the tenant. Modified gross leases may be used on any type of real estate and can be a good compromise for both the landlord and the tenant, depending on the scenario. So, which commercial lease structure is right for you? Well, unfortunately, that's a very difficult question to answer. The best response to just about every question in commercial real estate is, it depends. As you can tell, there are pros and cons for both parties in all three lease structures, so the market may actually help determine which route should be taken. If all of the leases for comparable properties in your market are modified gross structures, you may have a difficult time instituting a triple net lease unless the expenses end up being around the same price. As always, consult your commercial real estate broker, real estate attorney, and CPA when deciding which path is best for you and your venture. There you have it for commercial lease structures and what they mean. For more leasing tips, check out this playlist here. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more commercial real estate investing strategies, leasing and management tips, market updates, and more.